Hello everyone, this is Nemernan, and today I will be making a video about a very big accomplishment that I have achieved, which would be hitting a top 100 on the Monotype Ladder. I peaked, I believe, rank 70 something on the ladder with a total elo of 1606 and a pretty bad GXE like 72.7 or something. But the point of the matter is I did manage to reach that while at the tail end of the ladder season, which is when a lot of the people on the ladder will try to, try to get their hands on that top rank or just be active in general. So just to prove real quick that I did do this, I will go here to the Monotype Ladder. It'll probably take a bit to load. And we go to season rankings, and then season 6 was the season where I participated. And sure enough, you can see my account right here, number 82. I had a higher peak that I'm sure I'll probably put on screen, but just so we are aware, this is my account. I'm literally logged into it right now, and I played a couple of teams, but there was one main team that got me this rank, I will say. And it was this team right here, the Freak Squad. Now, this is a pretty standard dragon team for the most part, but there's just a couple of different options that I decided to pick. So, first thing you'll notice, there's no Roaring Moon on this team. I'm not a huge fan of that mod. It's very fast, but it just doesn't do... It kind of just helps... It's like a win more Pokemon for me. And while that is very good on a type like Dragon, who can just take pressure like that and just win more, I was trying to go for more of a hazard-based offense team, which you might find interesting because of the lack of Garchomp, but I wanted to try and use these two and just have as many good breakers as possible to facilitate using these two, who are just insanely good. If I was able to teach Arc Spikes, or if it was able to learn Spikes, I probably would have put it on, but I chose Stealth Rock because I wanted to make sure I wasn't completely hapless against flying, so there is that. And speaking of flying, the first Pokemon I decided to use, and this was the main mon that I wanted to use in the first place, the story behind this team is actually quite funny. Originally, this team was made so that I could test out Raging Bolt for an analysis that I was writing about him, and it ended up just being a very solid team that, as you can see, got me to a really high point on the ladder, so yeah. But yeah, this is the mon that started it all. It went through a couple of different iterations though. So first, this set, it always had these moves. These were always the moves that it had, but the item changed a bit. So originally it was Air Balloon because I wanted to make sure I could come in on Pokemon like Excadrill or Landorus and just be able to not completely get destroyed by them and have like a fighting chance. Especially Choice Scarf Landorus, that was one of the main ones. Because if I did manage to somehow scout Earth Power with Protect on Hisui and Gudra, I would just switch this thing in and it would get some progress done. But as time went on, I found myself going against more and more hazard stack teams, specifically ones that abused Hisui and Samurott. So I decided, yeah, I'm just not going to deal with it, I'll just use Heavy Duty Boots instead so it doesn't get worn down as quickly. And that's what I ended up going with. I also experimented with Leftovers as well, and it was just getting worn down too quickly for my liking, so I ended up going with Heavy Duty Boots, and it did pretty well. I did find myself missing Leftovers or Air Balloon a lot, but I think Heavy Duty Boots was definitely the right call, especially into all the teams that I was going against. Next Pokemon we have Arculodon, very standard set, nothing special here. Stamina Leftovers. It has Protect over a Dragon move, mainly because since he and Gudra are the only defensive Pokemon on this team, I want to make sure that I don't have to do too much guesswork when trying to switch them around. So reducing that guesswork with Protect is very important to me. I would have liked to have Draco Meteor or something like that, but I just decided that it's probably better to just play this game plan instead. and just make sure I have Flash Cannon so I can deal with fairy types. And Body Press is good for opposing dark types, which those two types are very annoying to run into as this type, so yeah. This is actually a very interesting thing. So, originally, this was a Dragon Band set, but I changed it to Choice Band because I wanted the immediate power. And I found that a lot of people didn't expect me to be Choice Band, and they would switch in their especially defensive walls into it instead. But the reason they do this is because apparently on Ghost, physical is more common than on Dragon. Dragon typically tends to run either a mixed set or a utility set. But I decided to go for Band mainly because I just think the breaking power on Band is just really ridiculously good, especially with its very good speed tier. Stuff like it just makes it hard for certain Pokemon to come in, like Yaskarado without Choice Scarf has a hard time coming in. Just a lot of Pokemon struggle to come into this thing very solidly. It's generally just fairy types that can probably switch into this thing comfortably, and a few select steals like Arculodon, but again, my opponent has to play the 50-50 of whether or not this has this is special or not, and they don't know until they see it, because I have Como as a physical attacker, and even though I have two other special attackers, it's still very likely that I could just be a mixed set on this as well, and they would just lose their Pokemon. So they have to play it safe. And as much as even if the mind game doesn't exist, this Pokemon is still just very infuriating to deal with, because Infiltrator makes screens irrelevant, so Fairy doesn't like dealing with that at all, especially if it starts spamming Phantom Force. And a Sucker Punch is there to help pick off anything faster. It's my main source of priority since I don't have Dragonite, which is also one of the main reasons why I decided to go for Choice Band, because I wanted to have something that had strong priority to basically cover any threats that were outspeeding me. It's also just very nice for opposing Ghost types as well that were somehow faster. Mainly stuff like Scarf, Spectrier, stuff like that. But yeah, that's it for Dragapult. We have Hisuian Goodra, nothing special here. I kept forgetting, actually, to switch this to Sap Sipper. This should be Sap Sipper, but I never ever changed it, because every time I wanted to change it, I just completely forgot about it. But yeah, Shell Armor was fine. Not being able to get crit is very good, I will say. And the only time this is notable is against Urshifu. If I decide to switch into Surging Strikes, it greatly reduces the amount of power it has, but I don't want to be switching this thing into Urshifu anyway. So the Shell Armor kind of it's kind of like a quality of life thing. It's like oh, thank goodness that this will never happen to me, but you don't really notice the effects unless of course it's against Urshifu, so yeah. But yeah, I should have been Sap Sipper because I was running into a lot of Spore, Leech Seed, a lot of annoying grass stuff in general, so I really kind of wish I put this on here, but it did fine with just Shell Armor. And Shell Armor probably, ironically, saved me a couple of games too, but I just didn't realize it because, you know, you never get a notification that you got saved from a critical hit, so yeah. Next Pokemon we have is Como. So Como was actually a choice that I intentionally made, because I was just like, so I noticed that a lot of bullet moves get spammed on a ladder, like Shadow Ball, for example, on Ghost, so I wanted something that could comfortably take that without me having to use or wear down my Hisuian Goodra, and potentially get a split after off and just make the entire thing a disaster. So this was intentionally picked for Ghost, which is hilarious because it's a fighting type, which means it's usually useless against Ghost, but this thing finds setup opportunities on choice locked Pokemon spamming Ghost moves, or spamming Shadow Ball specifically. Now it does come in on a few other types of moves as well, but it's mainly Shadow Ball that I picked it. And this is good against Spectrier, or Choice Spec Spectrier, since if Spectrier decides to do Draining Kiss, I can always go into Goodra, and it can just take that and force it out. Or if it goes for Shadow Ball, I can scout that on my Goodra, and then go into Como, and it just deals a total of 0 damage. Because spamming Shadow Ball against my Goodra would be very good, and it would wear it down really quickly, but taking a total of 0 damage compared to just taking a lot of chip on my Gudru, especially in the Ghost matchup, I think it's more worth it for a combo to just not take the damage. Now, that isn't to say that Soundproof is bad. Soundproof is definitely useful against some Pokemon, like Primarina for example, but I think, especially for Psychic Noise, Psychic Noise spammers will definitely find this very annoying to deal with, but Bulletproof to me just seemed way more useful, and the entire goal of this team was to just have as many powerful breakers as possible. So I just decided that this was probably the right move. Also find itself being good against Sludge Bomb, which does get spammed by a couple of Pokemon, so that was nice. But yeah, combo is very good. It's also good for Dark, I forgot to mention, because Dark is a very common type on the ladder. It's very strong as well, so on non-Sableye Dark teams, I found myself using this a lot, and it was very, very good, because Mandibuzz can't really do much to this. And with Taunt, it actually stops Mandibuzz from using Toxic. It also just stall breaks a lot of other stuff in general, like fatter water teams it kind of breaks through, so Seawater wouldn't really work against this team. I mean, it's already not working because it has Raging Bolt, but this Pokemon also just does not help at all. And last of all, and this is probably the most important person on my team, unironically the MVP, even though if you had told me that this Pokemon would have been the MVP of my team, I probably wouldn't have believed you, and I still kind of don't believe it, but yeah, this Pokemon was the MVP of my team, because it's just really powerful. That's all I can really say. Like, Luster Purge, Draco Meteor combo is just really strong. Choice Specs just wears down so many things. Like, stuff just struggles to come into this thing, especially with Luster Purge Spadef drops. If you get a Spadef drop on something like Articuno, for example, it just becomes unable to switch it, which can be insanely broken. Now, of course, you'll lose like 4 Luster Purge uses if you do that, but the fact that Articuno can't come into this special attacker, especially in a matchup like Flying, which already doesn't like this bomb because of Ice Beam and Thunderbolt, yeah, that's rough, bro. So yeah, this Pokemon's really, really good at breaking stuff. I struggled to see anything really just take a hit from this. I've never once put this Pokemon in and felt like it just got nothing done. It just feels really powerful. It's just really powerful, that's all I can say. It also provides my team a ground immunity, since I got rid of Air Balloon on my Raging Bolt. So it makes it good against ground as well. Like, this Pokemon's just really powerful. I think Latios is just really, really solid on this team. It's fast, it hits hard. Can't ask for much more. But yeah, that will be it for the team preview. So let me show you some of the replays that got me into it. Now, the actual game itself that got me into my highest rank, I don't want to show, mainly because it's a private replay and I feel like showing it on my YouTube channel, especially if it's not, you know, informative or proof of me doing a challenge, I don't really want to show it. But just so you're aware that it is a replay, it's against this person. I'm not going to show this replay. Don't worry, nothing fishy happened, but I just don't want to reveal reveal their teams or anything that they were doing, just in case like it's a tour strategy. I don't want my video to become a source of information in terms of that. So we'll just look at these replays instead that are public for everyone. So first one, we're up against the water team. So as you can see, Dragapult already putting in a lot of pressure because of banned Dragon Darts. Gastrodon just can't take that. He puts in Toxapex. Toxapex takes quite a decent amount. I put in Arc in order to get some rocks down. They go for the aggressive Toxic, it does nothing. So we get rocks down for free. I start doing body presses on the Gastrodon to test what it's going to do. I predict the recover here, and I was right. We put in Dragapult again. We get the free Dragon Darts off. And the crit does not matter because I was going to 2-hit KO it anyway. So Samurott, Hisuian Samurott comes in. We put in Como, who resists both of its stabs and doesn't take a ton from the Sacred Sword. So we start setting up on Gastrodon. we pull out a taunt on Dondozo and start Drain Punching it to death. Since Waterfall is evidently not going to do that much today. Drain Punch again. And here you can see the value of Taunt in this matchup. It uses Infestation to do damage to my combo since it really can't do anything else. So I start setting up. We do 2 dances. Taunt wears off. So I go for an aggressive play here. I thought that maybe he would use a defensive move instead of a offensive move because obviously I would just taunt there. But I ended up critting him instead, which the crit arguably mattered because if he had clicked Toxic then Como wouldn't be able to do the following that I'm showing you. But I think even if Como still fell here, I still had Latios in the back and he doesn't have range, so Kindra is basically useless. But yeah, Como does just beat up Dondozo. And as I said before, Raging Bolt could have done this too, so it isn't like I would have completely lost if I had to lose Como in the process. And I also still have Arc for Hisuian Samurott as well, he's full HP. Like, just having Latios, Arc, and Raging Bolt still full HP, as well as Dragapult, he still wasn't winning. The crit arguably mattered, but he was still in a really rough position, and I probably would have still won, unless he got lucky as well. But yeah, water matchup, definitely. This team was definitely not very well prepared for my team, so it was very unlucky for them. But yeah, next replay we have is against a Poison team. This was actually, I remember this being an annoying match. So yes, this Pokemon. This annoying Pokemon, Hisuian, or not Hisuian, Galarian Weezing, the bane of my existence. Greatly dislike this Pokemon because of just how well it does its job. But yeah, I put down Stealth Rocks. He does the Future Sight. I decide to click Knockoff to make some progress. We get rid of the leftovers. You see the Infestation, I missed Dragon Tail, don't worry. This thing missed Dragon Tail a lot, so that is not unusual. As you can see, it missed it again. But yeah, it keeps trying to Infestation me. It does a decent amount of chip. So we know this is heavy duty boots now, so I keep that in mind for when I use Latios or Dragapult later. Toxapex comes back in, he uses Infestation. A Dragon Tail. Now, if I had Garchomp on the team, this would have been very good. I would have been in a very good spot here. But sadly, he isn't on the team, and I don't have spikes, so the constant phasing with Dragon Tail just isn't as good. I do actually think I should make a team with Garchomp, but I don't think it would be as good, because I think the Mons on my team just flow so well together. But I think if I had to replace mine, it would probably be Como. But I would greatly miss having Como on my team, without a doubt. Yeah, we keep phasing. In comes this Pokemon. I assume he's going to try and knock out my Goodra as fast as possible. So I predict that. I predict the switch in from him with the Draco Meteor. Does a pretty decent amount of health to his Muck, but of course Muck isn't dead because it's incredibly tanky. I use Flash Cannon, thinking he's going to send in Galarian Weezing. He did not. So I click Body Press, switches in his Galarian Slowking. Slowking uses Ice Beam, thankfully it doesn't freeze me. And I think I click Dragon Tail here. Yeah, I click Dragon Tail, predicting the instant switch. We get Galarian Weezing again. I use Dragon Tail again, probably. Yeah. We're slowly running out of PP on the Dragon Tail. Thankfully, this does get the chip, and I am faster than it, so I end up knocking it out. I'm not sure why he didn't switch out back to Toxapex, but we take those. I assume that this thing is Choice Scarf, so I decide to take another hit just to see. Switches out again. I click Protect thinking he's going to use a move, he did not. which that was pretty obvious. I was just on autopilot there. But yes, we kick Dragon Tail again. We get the discharge, instant para. But now we get some chip on that on, so that's great. I would have liked to have knocked that thing off instead, but he ended up staying in, which was not what I thought he would do. I use Protect, which is very risky because I'm paralyzed. That could have gone horrifically wrong. I end up staying in anyway. Knocking off his item, so now the idea behind that was so I could actually phase him, and he couldn't just switch in every single time he wanted to, but he ended up just getting rid of my Gudra instead, which was, or not getting rid of, but significantly weakening it, which was not very good for me, I would say. But yes, Toxapex comes back, I predict the Infestation, I instantly Thunderbolt. I was going to Calm Mind, but I thought that he would probably just click Toxic, so I decided to just not deal with it. He uses Future Sight, Earthquake to knock out my Hisuian Gudra. I decided to go into Dragapult since Dragapult's going to die anyway. So I just use Dragon Darts, KOing his Muck, and Dragapult ends up surviving. I stay in to test and see if he's Scarf. He is Scarf, so I know now that I can just put an Arc and he can just do whatever he wants. We see the Slow King come out. We go into Como. We take the Ice Beam. Dragon Claw does a fair bit of damage. So now we put in Latios, and he doesn't really have a good way to switch into this thing because he is Specs. Luster Purge completely annihilates that thing, and Luster Purge will continue to do a lot of damage to this Pokemon as well as dropping his Spadef. And we end up winning just like that. And yeah, that was a pretty hard-fought match from me, but it just shows how solid this team was together. Now, Garchomp definitely would have been better in this matchup than Como, but I still do believe that Como's Taunt is just way too valuable to give up on this team. Because it just essentially turns Toxapex into setup fodder. So he could never do Toxapex things, because if he kept that thing in for too long, Como would have just taken advantage of it. And basically wear down his Galarian Weezing, so he never decided to go for that. But yeah. This is just a very solid showing of the team, and as you can see, Latios is just incredibly hard to answer. And we'll go for this last replay, which I believe this replay got me my first peek into the top 100. As you can see from the badge. But yeah. It's against water again, this time it's Ogerpon water. And he also has a Walking Wake, which is very not good for my team since he can use Draco Meteors. He starts spamming hazards, which is very annoying for me, because I do not have hazard removal on this team, so I'm going to be very reliant on my heavy-duty boots to make sure I don't get my physical threats or my offensive threats worn down. This thing uses Encore. I get very annoyed at that and immediately switch into Como. I wanted to set up here, but I knew he was just gonna probably use Encore if I did, so I decided to just kill him immediately. We switch into Hisuian Gudra here. Gudra can't switch into this consistently due to the fact that there are spikes on the field. So we go for a knockoff for instant progress. Swampert loses its leftovers, so now it just kind of gets worn down easier. I click Protect, thinking that he's going to use an offensive move, but he just ends up setting rocks instead. I could have done Dragon Tail instead there, and it would have been better. We send in Latios. I decide to use Draco Meteor instead of Luster Purge, due to the fact that I believe Luster Purge would have just gotten blocked by Greninja. I heavily overestimate people switching hard into Greninja. I should really start just using the Psychic move more, but alas. Somehow, Gudra survives this. And yeah, I predict him using the Sword Stance thinking I was going to do that, but unfortunately my prediction doesn't matter because this thing is blind. And that's another reason why I wish I had Sap Zipper, is so I could have dealt with that. But yeah, I'm in a very rough spot here. I don't have Thunder Wave or anything else to really wear this thing down, so I'm very dependent on my Sucker Punch from Dragon Bolt to kill. My Sucker Punch or my Raging Bolt, actually. Alright, Raging Bolt kills. That was actually a maximum roll, by the way. Or, I'm not sure if that was the maximum roll. No, that one was the maximum roll. The roll is coming up later, but we'll talk about it. So yeah, this thing eats a Draco Meteor. I do a Calm Mind greedily, and I click Thunderclap. That is a maximum roll. That right there was a maximum roll. That was the maximum roll on Walking Wake with this Raging Bolt set. And I know on the outside it doesn't look that unbelievable, but let's just take a look real quick. So let's just look at Raging Bolt and the set that I used, which was this one. And we're going to look at Walking Wake. So, as you can see, okay, well, Thunderclap isn't really showing its damage because I forgot I have Psychic Terrain on still, but yes. So, +1 special attack. Thunderclap is doing 64 to 76%. I got the maximum roll, which is insanely lucky. Like, absurdly lucky. So, let's just take a look at how much luck. So, I got a 6.3% chance to one-shot his mob. At the time, I thought that this was just how it was going to be, but this thing is apparently obscenely tanky, which I did not know. Because I don't see that mod enough to really know damage numbers against it. But yeah, I got insanely lucky with that. And honestly, from this spot, I'm not sure if I would have won if that thing didn't kill. Because if this thing had killed, or if this thing had knocked out my Raging Bolt, and lived on like 0 HP, Como could maybe take a Draco Meteor from it after the drops. And we could maybe, like, if Greninja isn't Scarf, which I think it is Scarf because this is probably Specs Walking Wake. Actually, we could probably test that real quick. No, it's not Specs Walking Wake, that was Scarf Walking Wake, so actually we might have still been fine. Although, if it was Specs Walking Wake, I wonder if it was -2 with Specs. Yeah, no, that thing is still one-shotting my, my Como. That's actually insane. That mod is crazy. But, yeah. It's very unfortunate that that happened to him. 6.3% chance is insane. But yeah, my play there probably would have been just to keep stacking stuff. Or, hold on. We know that this thing isn't Specs. We know that this thing's Scarf. So, okay, no. This thing would have survived. Or, not this thing, but Como would have survived the extra hit. Although, if I had chosen to Dragon Dance, I probably would have lost, which would not be ideal. I would have had to have sacked the Dragon Bolt as well. And then I would go into Como and then we maybe win. Not sure if that would even happen either. Because Toxpex is insanely tanky, but yeah, this match gets a lot closer if that doesn't happen. And I think I probably would have lost. I don't think I would have outplayed this guy, but yeah, unfortunately he got rolled, which is unfortunate. And that felt like a dirty victory for me because that is what got me into the highest rank. But I did get here with very decent gameplay beforehand anyway, so I didn't feel that horrendous about it. I didn't feel completely fraudulent, but that was definitely an insane roll. So yeah. But that is it for this video. I am still trying to get interviews with other members of the Monotype community right now. So far, haven't gotten anything yet. So next week is probably just going to be another filler video. but hopefully I am able to get a hold on someone soon. But yeah, expect a video talking about some insane nonsense that me and another user are doing with Psychic at the moment, and expect that video in another week. And it's going to be in this format as well, the more casual format, and not the edited format that you saw with the interviews. The interviews are exclusively going to be edited, especially if they're text interviews, so watch out for that. But in the meantime, enjoy the second video that's coming out next week, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.